Step back into a time of Saturday morning cartoons, neon windbreakers, and the unmistakable scent of plastic shoes. This video is a vibrant time capsule, capturing the essential fashion staples that defined a generation before the digital age took over. From the rhythmic click of a banana clip to the status symbol of a tiny embroidered alligator, these are the sights and textures of a 90s childhood. Get ready for a major wave of nostalgia as we revisit the trends we once couldn't live without.
Huarache Sandals. Oh, the summer of the Huarache. You'd slip on those woven leather sandals, ready for the mall or the boardwalk, but there was always that one battle, the pinky toe. It seemed like a design flaw we all just accepted as part of the style. That tiny sliver of skin would always find its way out the side, and you'd spend half your day trying to nudge it back in while walking. It's such a specific, funny memory, isn't it? It reminds me of those long, hot summer days that never seemed to end, when the biggest problem you had was whether your sandals were going to cooperate. They were just the standard uniform of our youth, and looking back, even that annoying toe slip feels like a sweet, little piece of a time we'll never truly get back. Stirrup Pants. Before the world knew what a yoga pant was, we all lived in stirrup pants. They were the absolute backbone of every girl's closet. There was something almost satisfying about the way the elastic strap went under your foot to keep everything perfectly smooth, tight, and in place. You felt put together, whether you were heading to an aerobics class or just hanging out at the school dance. They didn't stretch or bag out like jeans, they held you in. It's funny how a piece of clothing can define an entire era. When I see a pair now, I don't just see fabric, I see the 90s, the big hair, and the feeling that we were on the cutting edge of fashion, even if we were just heading to algebra class. Jordache jeans. Is there anyone who doesn't still have a pair of these buried in a box in the attic? Jordache jeans were the ultimate goal. If you walked into school wearing that brand, you knew you had made it. It wasn't just about the denim. It was about the way they fit and that little label on the back that signaled you were keeping up with the trends. We spent hours trying to squeeze into them, but once they were on, we felt invincible. Holding onto a pair of these today feels like holding a piece of personal history. It takes you right back to the feeling of being a teenager, obsessing over what to wear to the Friday night football game or the movies. Slouch socks. If you didn't have your slouch socks pushed down just right, you weren't doing it right. We were all obsessed with making sure they were perfectly bunched up around our ankles because, in our minds, we were so incredibly cool. It was an art form, honestly. You'd layer them, pull them, and adjust them until they looked effortless. Looking back, it's a bit silly, but at the time, it was the absolute height of style. They were the finishing touch to every outfit, from our Reeboks to our Keds. It's a warm, fuzzy feeling to remember standing in front of the mirror, fussing over those socks, convinced that we were the trendsetters of the decade. Jelly shoes. I don't think any of us can see a pair of jelly shoes without feeling like a kid again. We were completely obsessed with them. They were bright, they were plastic, and they were everywhere. Remember that unique smell of the PVC, and the way they would pinch your feet if you wore them too long. It didn't matter. You wore them to the park, to parties, and anywhere else you could. They represent such a vibrant, colorful time in our childhood when fashion didn't have to be practical. It just had to be fun. Those shoes were the definition of simple, plastic joy, and they'll always be a quintessential part of that 90s aesthetic we remember so fondly. Acid wash jeans with zippers and bows. Acid wash denim was more than just a style, it was a statement. But the jeans we really remember had those specific, extra details. The little zippers at the ankles and the tiny bows. It was the kind of detail that felt so sophisticated at the time. You felt like you were wearing something custom-made. It was all about adding those little extras to our outfits to make them stand out from the crowd. Thinking about those jeans brings back memories of trying to get the zippers to stay shut and worrying about those bows getting caught on something. It was a time when we weren't afraid to go a little over the top with our fashion choices. Lacoste shirts. We all had those days where we felt like wearing a lame shirt, but if it had that little alligator on it, suddenly everything was okay. The Lacoste polo was the ultimate staple of that era. It wasn't about the shirt being particularly exciting, it was about the status of that tiny logo. We wore them everywhere, tucked in, untucked, collars popped. It was the uniform of the cool kids. It's funny how much weight we put into a tiny embroidered reptile. But that's the nostalgia of it. Remembering the pride of wearing one, even when the rest of our outfit was just a pair of jeans. It's a classic memory of 90s preppy culture. Sam and Libby flats. If you were in middle school during that time, you probably owned at least one pair of Sam and Libby flats with the bow. They were everywhere. Every girl seemed to have them. There was something about that simple bow that made us feel so grown up and polished. We wore them until the soles wore out. Remembering them brings back those middle school hallways, the cafeteria chatter, and the feeling of trying to navigate growing up. They were the go-to shoe for everything, and seeing them now is like a direct line back to those years of changing friend groups, first crushes, and finding our own sense of style. Coin machine rings. Remember the checkout counter? You'd be waiting in line, spot the coin machine, and beg for a quarter to get one of those tiny, cheap rings. They were usually plastic or thin metal, sometimes with a fake gem that would fall out in a day, but they were the best thing in the world at that moment. We used to collect them, trade them, and wear them until our fingers turned green. It wasn't about the quality, it was the thrill of the win. It's such a sweet, simple memory of a time when the smallest thing could make your entire week better, and a quarter felt like a fortune. Banana clips. The banana clip was the MVP of 90s hair accessories. Everyone had a name for them, but we all knew exactly what they did. It was the fastest way to get that perfect, high-volume Rasta-style pony that seemed to defy gravity. You'd snap it together, hear that distinct click, and suddenly your hair looked like it had double the volume. It was the ultimate lazy day hairstyle that still looked like you put in a ton of effort. Remembering that specific snap of the clip is a core memory for so many of us who spent our mornings frantically trying to get our hair just right before the school bus arrived. Reebok Pumps. The Reebok Pump was the ultimate tech gadget for our feet. We all wanted a pair. There was nothing cooler than standing there, pumping that little button on the tongue and feeling the air wrap around your foot. It felt like the future. You'd see them on the basketball court, on the playground, and you couldn't help but stare. It was the peak of sneaker culture for us. Thinking about the pumps brings back that intense desire to have the next big thing, and the feeling of accomplishment when you finally got them. They were more than just shoes. They were a total experience. Pom-pom socks. Can we just bring back the pom-pom socks already? They were the perfect little detail that added so much personality to our outfits. Those fuzzy little balls bouncing around on the back of our socks were just peak 90s innocence. It was a small, playful choice, but it said everything about the era's vibe. We weren't taking fashion too seriously. Seeing them now makes you realize how much fun we used to have with our clothes. It's a tiny reminder of a time when we could just be kids, running around in our sneakers, with our pom-poms bobbing along, completely carefree. Still holding onto your 90s gear? Smash that like button, drop a comment with your favorite memory, and subscribe for more nostalgic trips down memory lane.